Okay. Um, Opening consciousness to truth. Our work, even then, is to realize that even the appearance of physical health is only a misrepresentation of the divine health, which is life eternal. That goes back to New Horizon in the book Infinite Way. Every human picture is mesmeric suggestion. Every human picture is a finite presentation of the infinite, even the good ones, even the good ones. Ask some of your millionaires whether they think it's so good to be a millionaire. Ask some of the healthy people whether they're happy or contented. No, every human picture, we are here because we have risen to that point where we're not satisfied just through some kind of process to make sick people well. That's not the end and object of our work. The end and object of our work is to reverse the whole human picture so that we can see you as you divinely are. That means eternal and immortal. Any picture that is presented to the sight, good or bad, should have the immediate recognition that God is the author and the creator. It is infinitely good, and what is appearing finitely is but the false interpretation of that infinite, beautiful picture, which you can't see with your physical eyes, but which internally you can feel with your spiritual sense. This is a very important thing. I don't want to leave here tomorrow night with any misgiving about that, because that is one point where this particular presentation goes far beyond ordinary metaphysical practices. We are not concerned merely with the making unemployed people employed, or demonstrating money for them, or demonstrating a perfect heart for them. Our work goes far beyond that. It goes into the realm of bringing to light the spiritual selfhood of the individual. And this is unchanging, undying. Only this realization do we, only by this realization do we achieve this. Don't believe what your eyes see. That is what I'm trying to tell you, even if it's a good picture. It is always only a finite interpretation of the infinitely real, which is there waiting to be spiritually discerned, waiting to be realized with your spiritual sense, with the sense of feeling. Question: what did you mean in the San Francisco lecture series by saying, I am the light of the world, and you see, I am the light of the world for the benefit of those who at the moment may seem to be enjoying some place of darkness. When they are no longer enjoying it, they will come out from under. Answer: the question there probably had something to do with the enjoying some phase of darkness. Of course, that was half cynical and half true. In this sense, it is true. Even when we're enjoying good health and even when we're enjoying good supply, we are just enjoying darkness. If it is physical health and physical wealth that we are enjoying. This truth has come to be the light even to that. This truth that we are presenting isn't merely to make sick people well or poor people rich, but to awaken even healthy and wealthy people to a dependence on spiritual power, on spiritual security, on spiritual freedom. That is the difference we gave when we spoke to another audience the other day. That is the difference between Moses, who gave the Jews a bigger place to live in, more food, greater religious freedom, and a lot of other human freedoms, but never gave them the spiritual freedom that would have made them eternally free. And Jesus came along to do that, and the Hebrews could not accept him, and they missed the boat. All are Hebrews in the sense that they are clinging to economic security and to political security, and who feel more safe with a Republican in the White House than with a communist there. Those with dependence on political person and ideology, but who have not yet found this spiritual security, which would keep them safe regardless of where they were or who was governing. Our particular approach presents this main difference from any other metaphysical teaching, and that is why it's not on the level of the human. It is trying to awake even healthy humans and wealthy humans from their dependence on physical security, on physical health, and physical happiness. To be a Christian means more than merely membership in a Christian organization or citizenship in a Christian country. It means living the Christ principle. To live the Christ principle means literally to pray for our enemies, to pray for those who persecute us or despitefully use us. It means a sincere effort to forgive our debtors, even unto 70 times 7, to return love for hate. The Christ's life compels us to put up the sword and therefore to use no human force, even in our defense. Of course, you understand we're not to dictate our will to our neighbor, and if our nation calls upon us for warfare or for the means of conducting war, we are to render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. We can fulfill every demand made upon us and yet do it with no malice or hate or fear, and with no conviction that force is a real power. The Christian life is an individual one and is never forced upon another. All are Christians who accept the law and reality of spiritual power, whether they belong to other churches or none. Christians have no occasion to rely on human means and methods, since they have the inner presence to guide, direct, govern, heal, maintain, and protect. They have meat ye know not of. That is the substance, strength, and power not visible to the world, an inner reliance. Most Christians are more Hebraic than Christian. They believe in the Judaic teachings. Most Christians do. Most Christians have more knowledge of and faith in what is in the Old Testament than in what is in the New. When you tell a Christian that you dare not throw an ill word to your neighbor, no matter what is offense to you, they take that as something transcendental, rather than as an actual teaching of Jesus Christ. When you talk to Christians about praying for their enemies, they don't seem to know that those passages are in the Bible, or that we are consciously to act upon those laws. No, they don't do it. Christians are not always Christian. They read the story of God, the Good Samaritan, and yet they will withhold help from somebody for a personal reason. Maybe he's a German, maybe he's a Jap. They consider those good reasons for withholding help. Or he is Catholic, or a colored man, or a woman. But whatever it is, they're not fulfilling the teaching of the Christ, the teaching of the Master. His teachings unveil and reveal to us spiritual being, spiritual identity, spiritual existence. Do you see what I mean? Let us all watch that business for the simple reason that if we do not, we too will find ourselves following the Judaic teachings or some other teachings other than the Christian teachings. I really do not believe that metaphysicians read the Bible enough, or when they do read it, they do not take such passages and say, what kind of law is being revealed? Is this just a story in the book? What is its meaning for me here? I am so grateful for the unfoldment of the spiritual interpretation of Scripture. Now, when I read a piece of Scripture, whether in our Bible or in any other older Bibles, I say to myself, what does it mean? That one, resist not evil. Just think of that one. All over the land, we're told to protect ourselves from evil. What to do about it when we meet up with it, while all the time it is our imagination backfiring. Resist not evil. When someone calls for help, Don't put up a mental barrier and deny evil. Your denial is power. You know back in your consciousness that it can't be true or real, that in itself is denial without voicing it. Instead of taking the time to deny it, sit back with your spiritual sense, reinterpret it. Let God reinterpret whatever the picture is before you. Then you can say, you see, it really isn't real. And I've seen it demonstrated. I've seen the unreality demonstrated and made manifest. Since I am infinite consciousness and include within my own being the entire universe, I, through my consciousness of this truth, become the law unto that universe. If I behold evil and start to fight it and battle with it, I make it a reality. And I give it a power that may make it impossible for me ever to overcome it. On the other hand, if I accept in my consciousness evil is unreal and therefore does not have to be resisted or battled, I can afford to spend my time in silent meditation, in peaceful enjoyment of the spiritual laws of life. I become a law unto my universe by my conscious attitude toward the universe. If I resist those who wrong me, I set that wrong up as an antagonism. And even if that individual did not harm me, some other one would come along and do it. This would occur merely because I'd set up that antagonism as something of a real nature that had to be battled or overcome. If, however, I can see all injustice, all lack of integrity, all inharmony, all discord, all lack of cooperative action as merely the finite interpretation of that which is real, then instead of battling it, I merely sit back quietly, resist not evil, and become the law over that situation and watch it automatically dissolve. That same person who has done me seeming wrong or injustice will dissolve all the feelings he might have had. If you stand on your human rights, even on your legal rights, you'll find yourself in a battle. Your word is not to battle. Our word is not to battle. Stand still and see the salvation of the truth, that God is all that is ever appearing in circumstance or condition. But as we see it, even when it's good, it represents our finite sense of it. Remember the import of tonight's lesson. It is covered too in New Horizons of the Infinite Way. It is covered now in another way, another angle, another sense, so that you can see that we are not to be satisfied, even with good human picture. We are immediately to translate them. We are not to be satisfied by human health, physical health. We are not to be satisfied with physical wealth. Don't be satisfied either with the mere fact that you have a loyal wife, a loyal husband, a loyal friend. Sometimes when your dependence is in the human, you find humans turn on you. They do that very often. But if we are always reversing that picture and saying, I know that every bit of good here is the infinite good of God, individualizing itself in my experience, that all of this good coming to me is God's good, then we have nothing to fear. We don't have to rest there and hope that this good human is going to keep on being good or friendly or honest. Do you follow that? The whole essence tonight is, do not let us either be good humans or be satisfied with good humanness. Let us not be engaged in a ministry of making sick people well or poor people rich, when actually our work is that of spiritual unfoldment. Don't let us get into that ministry. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. You'll learn it too. As you keep on contemplating that letter you received tonight, you'll begin to understand that we here have in some way been chosen. Remember, you don't have to choose me. Excuse me. Remember, you have not chosen me. I have chosen you, says God. We have been chosen to do our work on a higher plane than making sick people well. We have been chosen in some way. Consciousness has reached out and said, you're ready for the next step. Mysticism. The true meaning of mysticism is any teaching, any philosophy, any religion that adheres to oneness with God. It is conscious oneness with God, the ability to receive impartations or guidance direct from God, the ability to commune with God, to be consciously at one with God, the ability to receive good from God individually and directly. We may sum it all up then in saying that mysticism is any teaching that brings out oneness with God. And this teaching of ours here stresses above all things else oneness with God, conscious oneness with God. I want to start right off with a great secret. You will find this in my writings, but you will also find that it has not been taken too seriously by those who have read it. It was not, except in a few cases, probably recognized as one of the supreme wisdoms of the world. This has occurred, firstly, because it's not stated in mystical language, but in plain English. And secondly, because people are not in the habit of analyzing statements. I'm going to give you now the highest mystical statement that I know, one that will provide you absolutely with a passkey to heaven, to harmony of mind and body, and business, health, wealth, and all other things. That statement is: oneness with God constitutes oneness with all spiritual being and things. Oneness with God constitutes oneness with all spiritual being and things. You might realize my oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and things. That is a passport right into health and wealth. Why? We go back to the illustration of the telephone. You can't get anywhere in the world on the telephone without going to the central office. But once you contact the central office, you can contact any place on the face of the globe that has a telephone. Now, this truth is a higher truth than any telephone system. If you contact God, if once you make your conscious realization with God, then automatically and instantaneously you are at one with the entire universe of spiritual law. Everything that we see, hear, touch, or smell is really just a finite concept of divine idea. For instance, an automobile. An automobile isn't so much just one little piece of transportation. If you have one, it will wear out or run down or become obsolete. It will require another investment to replace it. But behind the idea of automobile, or behind the object automobile, there is divine idea of transportation. Transportation is really a spiritual activity. It is an activity of mind imparting itself as idea to individual being. Of course, if you once contact God or spirit, you have contacted the law, the spiritual law of transportation. Therefore, if your need for an automobile is a real one, you will be surprised how quickly you will obtain one, or an airplane, or seat in an airplane, or a steamship ticket, or passport, or anything that has to do with transportation. These would immediately be available to you because of your oneness with the source, the infinite source of all good. Now, we should not attempt to demonstrate an automobile. The point is this. Let us say that I am in San Francisco and my home is in Los Angeles. In a human sense, I must bridge that 400 odd miles, and so I have need of transportation. Or that is the way the problem would appear to me. Suppose I have no immediate solution to the problem. I sit down and realize my oneness with God, and I realize it in as many different ways as I can. I may think of the wave as one with the ocean, of the sunbeam as one with the sun. I may think of the selfhood that is one with God, and the motherhood and fatherhood that is one with God. In any way that I can relate myself to God until finally I come into the realization that all that the Father hath is mine, because we are one. I realize that there is no separation between God and man. God and man are one. I and the Father are one. All that the Father hath is right here where I am. If I achieve that realization, if I obtain that inner sense of peace that we all call the click, the realization, very quickly I will find that my transportation to Los Angeles appears. It may be an invitation to ride with someone. It may be a railroad ticket. It may be someone down there sending for me. Whatever appears could appear in any way. However, I would not have had any time to think about transportation. I would have to think about my oneness with God and about the immediate availability of God in every form. In the same way, let us take a person seeking truth. Everyone who has turned his thought in this path is seeking truth. What such persons want is the highest unfoldment that there is for their state of consciousness. They want that unfoldment which will meet their particular needs. There is a library here with thousands of books in it. You might read every one of those books out there but one and not find your need met. All that reading might be time wasted too, because it would be just as easy to go to the center of your being and there realize that God and truth are synonymous. And since you are one with God, you are one with truth. That all the truth in the universe is available to you. Not available tomorrow, but now. Available right here, right where you are. There is no time, place, or space from which you can be separated from truth, from all the truth in the universe, because you can't be separated from God. As you ponder so day in and day out, you would be led to just the one book that really would open up the floodgates to you. From there on, you would be led to book after book, teacher after teacher, but only to those who were in accord with your own consciousness, those that would meet your particular need. Do you see what I mean? There is no need to read every book in the world to find the truth you need. You can be led to just those authors, just those teachers, just those scriptures that follow your particular line of truth. The same thing can happen when we need a home or want a home or are ready for a home or want to move somewhere else. Again, we're not using this truth to demonstrate a house or a place to live. But if this truth did not bring us fulfillment of harmony, it would not be the truth of being. Because Christ said, I am come that ye might have life and have it more abundantly. I am come that ye might be fulfilled. And of course, a home and companionship and those things are part of our fulfillment. Having arrived at a place where we know that our desire runs in that direction, let us now forget the home and the house and all the rest. Let us turn within and again realize God. Realize that the only home there is in our own consciousness, realize that the only home there is in our own consciousness, that we live and move and have our being in God, in true consciousness. True consciousness is omnipresent as our own being, as we realize the true nature of a spiritual home with all the qualities of home, such as protection, love, joy, beauty, cooperativeness, safety, security. The first thing we know, our home appears. For our conscious oneness with God is what brings it into manifestation, not our going outside to demonstrate things. Remember always that the basis of our work is seek ye first the kingdom of God. One of those ways of seeking first the kingdom of God is this realization, because when we have demonstrated our conscious oneness with God, all the things are added unto us. Therefore, oneness with God constitutes oneness with every spiritual being. Maybe some person who is needed to bring about the happy adjustment of our affairs. It may be the right real estate agent, or the right banker, or else the right metaphysical teacher. It may need the right kind of investment counselor. Any type person anywhere. We would contact the right one, not by desiring the right one, but by consciously realizing our oneness with God. A wonderful thing happened to me this morning. I wish you'd all been with me. This lesson poured itself into my consciousness at that time. It just poured itself into me and poured in and poured in. I kept saying, why aren't they here right now? I wish sometimes I were like the Hindu swamis in India, who have their students come and live with them for 3 years. Then at 3 o'clock in the morning, if they feel like talking, they send word out to get them all up. When they meet, the swami talks and talks, perhaps until 5 o'clock, and then they go back to bed. If the swami feels at 7 o'clock he's ready to talk again, out come the students at 7 o'clock. You never know what hour of day or night you're going to be summoned into the holy presence to hear the divine pearls of wisdom that flow from God. You would have heard some this morning, for I just seemed afire with all this. But this is what came to me in the midst of it. Inasmuch as I am consciously one with God, I must be consciously one with the individual consciousness of everyone here. Certainly they, too, must be receiving the same message I am receiving. I would not have been at all surprised if some of you had said tonight, why, I know a lot. I heard it this morning sometime. That is the idea. Someone seemed to be telling it to me. Ultimately, you see, those of us who follow the mystical path are going to learn that it isn't really necessary to talk as much as we do. We all will receive the messages and the impartations necessary for us with much less conversation. And that brings us to one of the questions of the morning. In our human experience, we are continuously making human contacts upon whom we depend a great deal to bring us this or that. We are depending a great deal on word of mouth, reputation, and on reputation, and so forth and so on. In this mystical approach that is about as unnecessary as buying a meal right after you came from a banquet, really, because in the mystical approach wherein you realize that God, the infinite intelligence of the universe, has really created in you an idea to sell, whether it is metaphysical teaching, metaphysical healing, ice boxes, or property. Whatever it is, when you realize that you yourself are not the creator of it, even if you invented a machine to carry through with the idea, that does not make any difference. It was really the activity and operation of divine mind, universal intelligence, that did it all. It took place as the activity of mind, but it also took place in the universal mind. Is that universal mind anything but your mind and mine? Therefore, it automatically took place in the mind of every one of us at the same time. It is needless to advertise it. The very moment that the divine mind implanted an idea in what I call my individual being, let's say an idea of this unfolding truth, we know that it is automatically implanted in your consciousness. That's why you're here to get it. It is only that you haven't been trained to bring it forth out of your own consciousness. And so you're coming to have it unveiled for you. You must at least know that I'm not telling you anything that is not already a part of your consciousness. If I were, you could not understand it. I might just as well sit up here and talk in Sanskrit. You wouldn't get it. That is only because Sanskrit is not yet needed as a conscious activity of your experience. But if you were at that level of consciousness where Sanskrit was a necessity, why, you would be led right to that person who could give it to you. There is no question about that. Now, always remember this. Nobody can ever give you anything that isn't already a part of your consciousness. Therefore, nobody is up here giving you anything. He's unveiling it to you. It is within your own consciousness. That is why, and here is where we can have a nice prayer of thanks. It would not have mattered whether or not I came to San Francisco. This truth that you already felt would have come forth in you this very week. It would not have made any difference whether I'd come or not. Somebody else would have given it to you, or you would have found the book that would have had it in, or if there was no other way, God would have hit you over the head and said, "Here, wake up. I'm talking to you." You would have heard it in your sleep or as you were walking along the street. Never believe that this truth has anything to do with a person's coming to San Francisco to give it to you, or that it's lucky he came here, or that you are glad he came here. You can be glad, but not necessarily for that. You would have gotten it anyhow. If that weren't true, then Jesus was all wrong when he said, "If I go not away, the Comforter will not come to you." In other words, if this message were dependent upon a person, oh my, where is God? Where is God in all that picture? Just think, here I am in San Francisco, but there are many thousands of cities all over the United States where I'm not. Is God cheating those people, do you think? Don't you delude yourself? Every person in this world who is ready for this message is receiving it in this manner. I'm sorry, receiving it this minute. That is the benefit of mysticism. You see, your conscious oneness with God makes everything in this world available the moment that you want it. Nobody can keep it away from you either. Nobody. And if you are not following the path of God, I don't mind telling you, you're going to fail in the end. Anyhow, perhaps it's just as well if you fail in the beginning and save a lot of heartaches. No, conscious oneness with God is mysticism. Conscious oneness with God constitutes your oneness with all spiritual being, with every spiritual idea. Now, money is just a human concept, but it is a human concept of a divine idea. It represents love, gratitude, sharing, cooperativeness. So as a spiritual idea, you know it can't come to you. It must be embodied. An embodied idea and activity of your consciousness. One of the reasons when we are short of money, that we are short of it, is that we're looking for it to come to us when it is hidden in our own consciousness all the time. That is the way it is. We often are trying to demonstrate something that is already part of our own consciousness all the time. It is already within us, and we are looking for it in a person, in a place, in a thing. We all know that there are many, many stories of the search for the Holy Grail, for that gold cup that Jesus is supposed to have drunk from at the crucifixion. In every story of this search, the man who searched finally came home, denuded of money, broken in health, comes home and drops wearily, despondently at his own door. Then he finds it. In every instance, the story describes a person who gives his whole life and fortune to the search in the outer world, and each time he finds it on his return home. He finds it in his garden, perhaps, hanging to a branch of a tree. He reaches forth his hand at his own table and it appears. This is all symbolic. It means that the Holy Grail, whatever your treasure is hidden within our own consciousness. It is hidden within our own being. It is there by virtue of our oneness with God. It isn't that it is ours or of our own account. We are joint heirs with Christ in God. That is only another way of saying that my oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and with every spiritual idea or thing. To me, that represents one of the highest spiritual statements that I know. I put it in my writing in just that simple language, and very seldom does anyone comment on it or say, I think you put the Holy Grail there, or the pearl of great price. They don't recognize it. It seems like a pretty sentence. Actually, I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. To me, it ranks as one of the highest statements, one that will put you nearer the realization of heaven on earth than any other. The highest mystical statement of truth that I know is, my kingdom is not of this world. I doubt that Jesus said anything of a more mystical nature than that. When he said, I've overcome the world, that was, of course, the realization that my kingdom is not of this world. The statement itself, my kingdom is not of this world, immediately sets us free from the desire of person, place, thing, circumstance, or condition. It sets us free from the world of effects and makes us live in conscious union with cause, with God. You see, if we were to demonstrate millions of effects, we still would be playing around with something that could turn to dust in our hands. But if once we touch conscious union with cause or God, then we have no further interest in the things of this world except to enjoy them as they come along. We then are still in the world, but not of it. There is no such thing as a time or a place wherein we would have less than the fullness if we obtain the consciousness that my kingdom is not of this world. If we can see it, hear it, taste it, or smell it, but don't get bound up in it. Don't be concerned about this world. This is the mystical path. Don't be concerned about the flesh. This is the way of the spirit. Don't be too concerned about how it comes out. It is temporary anyhow. Be concerned with the inner plane of being. I'm going to talk for a few minutes on the two planes, the outer and the inner, because it is on the inner that we have our contact. It is on the outer that we behold humanly the fruitage of it.